All right, welcome back to the channel, guys. If you hear a little buzzing sound in the background, that's my PC. It's iRacing is updating. For the ones that don't know, yes, I do iRacing, racing simulator. But yeah, so on to the next series. On to continue the series for episode 2 or video number 2. We're going to talk about camber, right? So camber is your tires where they sit. Let me get another. Right. So camber is your tires when they sit flat, and then camber is when they angle in. So when you angle in, you're looking at negative camber. Where's my gauge here? There we go. So this is the gauge I have here. Right. So as you can see, negative camber. Well, let me put this at 0. As you can see when I'm sitting here. Actually, let me see if I can just lower the camera a bit. Right, so as you can see there, that's positive camber. It's at, I don't know if you can see it, it's at 10 degrees, right, which is where it sits flat normally. If I push this to 0, so that's 0 degrees, right, you'll notice my camber gauge is parallel, right? It's perfectly straight, right? So that's 0 degrees. And then if I loosen this and I go up, you can see the numbers there, right? 1, 2, all the way to 5. The 5 is there. All the way to the top, that's 10, right? So that's negative camber, right? Right. So that's the basics of the camber gauge of how they work. They're similar. Some of them are this, some are a little bit different, but it's the same justification, right? Same thing. So the way camber works on your drift car, right? As you can see, I'm running 10 degrees of camber. I'm fully cambered out in the front. The way it works is when you want your camber up, obviously you set up to the track layout, the track positioning, the size of the track, how the corners are, when I specify corners, I mean, are they long angles? Are they short? Are you just transitioning from left to right, to left to right, to right to a straight to a right? Right? You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying, right? 'Cause we're drifting, we're going sideways, right? But some tracks have longer throws, so you're holding that angle for a whole lot longer, and then it's a slight straight for a split second straight, and you transition to the next one, so it's more forgiving. You're not going from left to right away, left to right away, right? So it all depends on the track layout you set up your camber, right? So my camber changes depending on where I drift. Obviously, people who know me, I drift at Strictly, and then I drift at Elite. Those are the only 2 tracks that I'll say that I drift at, because that's where I drift right now. But I have gone internationally and I have drifted at tracks in the US, right? So where I had to make slight adjustments to my camber just for that track layout. So again, the way camber works is you want the front tire, or what is recommended. Actually, let me see if I can place my, actually I might have to just hold my, camera here, boys. Sorry. I'm gonna hold to show you guys. What you want is, you see your tires. I don't know if I can pick it up with the light going through there. You see you see that little light there sneaking through the bottom of the wheel. That's what you're trying to get that to be perfectly, like, see that little light there, right there. So that right there tells me that my wheel that I'm turning into, so I'm going left, right, is barely touching the floor. And you can see my back tire back here, see my finger moving, that's barely touching as well. So what you want to do is, depending on your track layout, you adjust your camber to 5 degrees, 7 degrees, whatever it is, and you turn it. So I have my camber set to 10. So when I'm at full lock, almost full lock, as you can see there, it's just flat. See, it comes up a little bit. So right there, I'm practically flat. And the rear is just along for the ride. You want all the grip to be on your inside tire of where you're turning. So you want this tire to have all the grip. Right? So you can see there's like barely any light or no light. It's very, because obviously the tire is not perfectly flat itself, but it's practically rubbing. So you can see got this little nice clean line there. But they're right there. So if you look at my wheel, I'm practically almost full lock. Do I have a little bit more? Yes, I have a little bit more. If I turn my wheel a little bit more, there you go. That's full lock right there, right? So I'm just a little bit shy of full lock. So what I want to do, or what you recommend that you guys do, is find that sweet spot of where you want your full traction to be depending on your track layout. And then you'll never wash out at the front. You'll get full grip at the front depending on your angles, right? Depending how much angle you want, right? So when I throw this car, when I'm going for it, I'm holding long angles, and I'm holding my average angles about here. And I got good traction because of my camber at the front to make sure my front wheel gets all the grip so I'm not washing out. So when I say wash out, it means the car just goes out. It doesn't just follow the line you want, right? Because the rear wheels are just pushing. You need the front wheels to grip up to hold that angle, right? So if you have no grip here, you'll just understeer. So you just keep going. You'll just keep going this way, but your wheels are turned, right? You want the wheels to go with you, right? To follow, all right? So that, again, that's how you adjust your camber. So again, not every car is set up exactly the same. Like this one here is set up to 10 degrees of camber. As you can see, when I showed you how much lock I had for it to be on its sweet spot. This guy here, the way this car is set up, it works differently. So I'll show you my full. So that's my full lock, right? See, that's practically 90 almost. But my sweet spot, see if you guys can see it without any. That's right there. So right there. All right about there is my sweet spot. So that right there is my sweet spot. So this is where I like to throw this guy, and this is the angle that I like to hold. And this is an amazing angle, right? With this guy here, I can do more sends and reverse entry kind of way. This one here can do them, but they're harder to maintain because of this compared to how this guy is all the way here, right? But sometimes you want a little bit less traction. So if you want full lock, like this guy here, when I send it in full, I can do a reverse entry. And you can see that just that little piece of the tire is touching. So I can go into it and commit, and I can get out of it. But I find it easier to do it on this one because of the camber. But then I get better drive with this one, with this much camber, right? So again, it depends on your style of driving, how you like to drive, what do you want to drive, like how you want to drive. All right, so camber could be very subjective. Some people like 4 degrees of camber. Some people like more, right? Like this one here, he's at 7 and he's at 10. So, right, but these are two complete different chassis. So it depends on you. That's how you want your camber to be, right? So that's front camber that we're talking about, right? Hopefully that helps, and and you guys understand what I'm trying to say. The rear camber is very similar to that. Rear camber, you don't really want too much camber in the rear. You want a little bit of camber, right? This one, I believe, if I run my gauge, I have it at 3, I believe, right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so you can see that there. It's right on, and you can see won't even pick it up. My shadow, sorry, I try not to move. You see, it's like at 3, 4, in the middle of 3 and 4. So it shouldn't be in the middle, it should be at 3 or 4. So that means I'll have a few hits at the track, at the wall that has moved it. That's why you always have to check your car and adjust. So this gun here, he was at 3. So the reason it's at 3, that means the rear is still going to be floating, or not perfectly flat, as you can see that little minimize of gap there. But when I transition, when I'm drifting and I go sideways, right, when the car leans, right, when it goes in, I'm just moving the body. It's not going to really, see if it'll work. When I turn to one side, or I turn to the other side, see how the tire just lifts up? See that? That's what happens. Oh, that's what happens, right? So when I throw it into the right, when I go into a right corner, it's gonna lean in. Obviously, I'm being over aggressive. I'm being over exaggerating, but just wanted to show you guys. So when you throw it in, it's gonna lean on the one tire. So that's where you get good grip coming out, right? So you don't want too much camber, but it also depends on your setup of your suspension. If your suspension is super loose, like as you can see, mine's pretty loose, and as you can see, I have mine set up for active rear camber. See that? All right, so when I hit the power and it squats down, it squats, it loses off the back, it gets more camber, and then when I lean in, it goes back, right? All right, so you guys can see that. Again, that's subjective to how you drive, how you set up your car, but don't worry about my active camber stuff. You just set up your camber according to what I just showed you. So it should be roughly around 3, 4, 5 degrees of camber, depending on how soft your suspension is. So if you find out that you're drifting and you're losing speed, again, go with the other video with tow. Check your camber. Make sure you're not at a positive camber, because you want to make sure that all the drive is on the inside. Right? So you want to make sure all the drive is on the inside of the tire. See how my tire is all on the inside used, nothing on the outside? That's what you want. You don't want it to be running on this side. So that means you're running negative camber like this, and that's not good. Right? You want to always be, positive. You don't want to be, you want to be in the negative at all the time. Never be in the positive. Always be in the negative. Right? So you can run 0 degree of camber if you like. See how that works. But when the car leans, depending on your suspension, it's going to lean over to the positive, and then you might lose traction. And you notice you're going a little slow. So I would add 1 to 2 degrees of camber to help with that body roll. Right? As much as, you know, you don't really see it because the way the cars are driving, when I'm really looking at it, it's there, right? So I hope this video helps on camber setup. I hope I was able to explain it, to at least give you some sort of knowledge on it. But yeah, try that on your car. And especially I would getting the rear set up. Get the rear set up properly, so you can just drive forward. If you notice grip for the front, just give the throttle. Don't go full throttle, just, you know, halfway throttle, and see how fast the car goes forward. You can go off your adjustment of camber in the rear off that. And then when you start to go sideways, when you send it sideways, adjust your front camber according to that. Right? That's how you adjust both. Right? Because again, if your car has soft suspension, it'll squat down, you hit the throttle, and you could lose, or you're gaining, it depends. And then when you brake, it squats, it lifts up. So you could be losing camber, right? So you have to find that sweet spot. All right, so again, all right, so hope this video helps. And I'll check you guys on the next one, which I haven't decided what I'm going to be using yet. But if you guys are wondering what my setups are because of what I was just talking about, as you can see, they're pretty soft. And people always talk about, actually that's a different video. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about springs and my setup of oil. There's no recommendation. It's pretty much what you like. But yeah, that's for the next video. Hope you guys enjoy this video, find it informative, and I'll see you guys in the next one.